everyone! If you don't know me, my name is Rachel, and today I'm going to be talking a little bit about atheism and religion and this idea of whether God exists or not. So, on my little search and journey and exploration around YouTube, I quite like to watch religious YouTube channels to get an idea of what other people think and, just learn things from another perspective. Because it's silly to sit and listen to other atheists all the time who all just agree with the same things I agree with, right? It's good to be challenged. So while I was browsing YouTube, I found this one particular YouTube channel that I actually really like. And they make really nice, well-made videos. Both, I think it's a married couple, and they're both really charismatic. They seem like really nice people. So their videos are actually really nice to watch, and they're actually really fun and enjoyable to watch, which I like. The only thing is that I do disagree with some of their points, and today I'm just going to be addressing one of their videos in particular called 4 Reasons Why God Probably Exists. And as always, no disrespect to this guy Matt, because he seems absolutely lovely. Him and his wife seem like great people. I just disagree with some of their beliefs, and today I just want to talk a little bit through his points and why I don't really agree with them. So he starts by talking about design.
Point 1. The argument of design.
But the thing is, we're not designed.
What we mean here is that when you look around in the world and when you examine even the human body, we realize just how complex it all is.
He is right though. When you look around, it is a pretty amazing world we live in, isn't it? And it's even more amazing that we can look back and see how all these things have changed and developed over the years. I mean, I've spoken about mitochondria before and how, to put things very simply, they basically started off as these little self-sufficient bacteria type cells, and how they eventually kind of formed a symbiotic relationship with other cells, and they evolved into being the cells that we have in our bodies today and that other animals have and that plants have. It's kind of amazing. I won't go into too much detail. There's a whole video about it which I'll link below. But this isn't all we can see. We can look back at fossil records and compare DNA of things, and we can see how things are still developing today. It's all science, and it's amazing and great and wonderful. But I don't really think God comes into that at all.
Think about the human mind, or the human eye, or the brain, memory. How does all that stuff even work? I mean, even now, I'm just literally throwing sound. I'm just throwing noise at you. And
you're right, this stuff is amazing and interesting, but we do know exactly how it works. And we know mostly how it evolved too, and how it changed, and how we got to where we are today with how our bodies and how animals' bodies and how plants work, and how every living thing works. I mean, okay, we don't know everything about every living thing, but the basics, we understand the basics. And to put it very simply, when you talk about sight, when you talk about communication, when you talk about even just consciousness, it all comes down to a bunch of electrical and chemical signals and processes and little chemical reactions between things. It's kind of amazing that something as complicated as an animal or a human can all be kind of broken down into these tiny, simple chemical reactions, but just lots and lots of them, and lots of different ones all happening together and working together. It's amazing, right? Again, science is great. But here's the thing, it doesn't really have anything to do with a god. It has nothing to do with being designed. That just simply doesn't make sense.
When you take a moment to think about that, that's kind of crazy, that's kind of complicated, and yet we're all just so used to it. And it doesn't just stop there. Like, when you look around at this world, it is so complex. When you look at the universe, this whole place is just huge, massive, complex, and yet it is entirely perfect for life, in a sense.
Okay, so the main issue I have here is one that I think I might have talked about a little bit before in my comment section, but maybe not so much in my videos. And that's that life, as we currently know it on our planet, the life that we experience, the life that we see in animals and plants and even bacteria and viruses and things, life as we know it and as we define it isn't some static thing. And the universe wasn't designed for our kind of life. The universe exists, and all over the universe there are a huge variety of different environments, right? And it just so happens that here on Earth there is a certain environment that exists. And at some point on this Earth, in this environment, things started to evolve. Life, as we define it now here on Earth, evolved to thrive in this environment. Earth wasn't created to support life. Does that make sense? You know that phrase about how correlation doesn't equal causation, right? That's pretty relevant here. Because just because there is a huge correlation between our life and the environment on Earth, right? Just because there's a huge correlation there, it doesn't mean that Earth was created to support life. In fact, it's the other way around. We function this way because we evolved to thrive on Earth. I feel like I'm not really explaining this very well. My words are getting a little bit muddled. Basically, what I'm trying to say is that Earth wasn't designed to support a life form that wasn't even around at the beginning of time. I mean, I'm really oversimplifying things here, but you get my point. Do you know what I'm saying?
With all that in mind, the argument of design then sort of states that with everything being so complex, it's pretty clear that actually on some level we were designed, that you were designed, that this place, this planet we call home was designed.
No, we weren't designed.
And if it was designed, that means there must be a designer, surely. There must be a creator.
No, there's no designer. I don't want to sound patronizing here, but the only people who think things look designed or think they must have a designer are the people who don't understand the science behind it all. Once you understand that, you see that a designer makes no sense. I've asked this question before, like very briefly, but at what point were we supposedly designed? I mean, if we look at the evidence, did this designer, design like a basic single-celled organism and put that on Earth, and then we evolved from that? Or did he, for some reason, fake a bunch of fossils and, designers at a certain point? Or, I don't know, like, when we look at the fossil records, right, we can see that humans, as we are today, haven't been around since the start of time. We know this. We know that we evolved from ape-like creatures. We know that we share common ancestors with chimpanzees and other apes and so on. That is a fact. You can try and deny it all you want, but that is a fact. And if you don't think it's a fact, you're wrong. It's as simple as that. So, which organisms exactly is God supposed to have designed and put on Earth? And when did he do it? Did he fake a bunch of fossil records? And if so, why? Did he create the single-celled organisms? Did he create humans fully formed? It doesn't make any sense. The point is that once you look at the evidence, and once you understand the processes, having a designer and being designed just doesn't make any sense. There are too many inconsistencies and weird questions and weird circumstances that you'd have to try and explain away if there was a designer.
So what are we to believe? All of this, me and you, this whole world, this whole universe is just one great big accident, that all of this just came from nothing? For no good reason?
Actually, yes, that's exactly what we should believe.
Reason number 2 to think about. Let's just call this materialism. Does anything non-physical exist? So a lot of people will say to me, well, you know what, Matt, you can't see God, you can't grab God, you can't touch God, you can't put him under a microscope, so there's really not enough evidence to say that this thing exists. And on first thought, you're like, yeah, that's not a bad thought. Like, I'll give you that, it's a solid point. But then, right, are there not other things, other entities, other ideas that are non-physical, but yet we all know they exist? Think about it. What about love, reason, logic? And if you believe in it, look.
Okay, so he didn't quite use the best examples here. I'd have probably gone for something like consciousness or gravity, but whatever, I'll work with this, right? With things like love and logic, he did pick things that are, technically not physical objects. I can't, pick them up and move them around like I can my phone or a book or whatever. I can't be like, this is love. You can't do that. It's not a physical thing. I get that. I can give you that. But we can still observe it in a number of ways. We can see the actions that people carry out in the name of love. We can see the physical and biological reactions someone has when they experience feelings of love. We can see pupils dilate, heart rates increase. We can even see areas of the brain being stimulated when someone feels love or someone else expresses love for them. We can literally, by looking at MRI scans and stuff, we can see areas of the brain being stimulated. Even with these non-physical things, we have objective evidence for it. We can see their effects. We don't have that with a god. I'd like to see just one bit of evidence that is apparently proof of God acting on something, or, proof that God has done something which can't be explained away by something else. Even just one little bit of proof like that would be great.
Reason number 3. Now this is quite a complicated one, so this is more of something to think about and ponder. If God doesn't exist, if there is no higher power in this world, in this universe, and it's just me and you and everyone else, we need to think about our morality. Where does that come from? Who decides what is good and who decides what is bad?
Okay, so morality is a big thing, and I've spoken about this before in my videos, and I don't want to go into too much detail again, but I will just say that, morality comes from us. It comes from our biological capacity for empathy, it comes from socialization, it comes from laws, from our experiences. There's lots of sources. We don't just need a Bible and a God.
What if me and you, we have an opinion, and what if our opinions don't match? What if they conflict? Who gets to decide who's right? And who is right?
You know what, you're right. What if our opinions don't match? Well, I guess that's kind of why we have laws, to make sure there are some kind of objective standards that people in society have to live up to and, go along with. And for everything else, I guess we just have to use our best judgment and do our best if that's what we want to do. And what about when religious people disagree on things? Some vicars are more than happy to perform gay marriage ceremonies, some condemn it. Who's right there? It's very easy to say, well, the Bible and God give us objective morality. But the truth is that there are still differing interpretations, aren't there? Being religious, believing in or worshipping a god, doesn't automatically solve all the problems of what is moral and what isn't. There are still going to be interpretations, as much as you want to call it objective morality.
What I'm saying is, people can have different ideas about what's good and what's bad. And if there's no objective lawgiver, let's say, if there's no objective standards set by God, then surely it all just becomes preference. It becomes opinion.
Well, kind of, yeah. And what exactly is so wrong with that? People like this never really say why, subjective morality or people having different opinions or interpretations, they never really say why it's a bad thing exactly. And honestly, I think it can be a good thing, because it makes people responsible for their own actions and the consequences of them. It means that people can figure out what they think is the right thing to do or the best thing to do based on particular circumstances, and it means that morality can change and adapt over time and depending on where you are and when you are and who you're with. And I think they're pretty good things. Why is that so bad? Why do we need an objective morality?
Now, maybe we can say, well, no, because we have systems in place. We have legal systems, we have political systems, we have numbers games, and we have voting. We can deal with this responsibly. And I would give you that, say, yeah, sure, we do. So, does that mean the crowd can't be wrong? Does that mean politicians can't be wrong? Does that mean legal systems cannot be wrong?
No, things can be wrong, but that's part of being human, isn't it? You make your choices and you deal with the consequences. Other people make choices and you deal with their consequences too. No one's ever going to be perfect, even if you follow everything that your chosen God supposedly said.
Ultimately, does it not all come down to preference, whether that's one person's preference or one group's preference? Is it not still someone's preference pushed on everyone else?
I don't get why this guy is so against the idea of preferences.
And yet, why do they have the right to do that? If they're just a human like me or you, why is their opinion, their experience more valid than ours?
Well, we're always going to have hierarchies in society. It's a pretty natural thing. And generally, one person's opinion or idea isn't really above another's, with some exceptions. Take politicians, for example. We tend to listen to them and they tend to have more influence because we've elected them. We've chosen to trust them to do what's best for them as people, right? There'll always be people who do bad things, there'll always be people who do good things. Sometimes these things will happen by accident, sometimes they'll happen on purpose. It's complicated. If everyone was to just suddenly, blindly and unquestioningly follow the guidelines set down by a bunch of men 3,000 years ago who probably just wrote them to feel important at the time, that's not really a solution to anything, is it? Things can still go wrong. Morality and ethics are complicated issues, and I think that people should learn to think for themselves and evaluate things for themselves rather than just blindly following what a god has supposedly said.
Reason number 4. And you know what? Perhaps this could be the most crucial that we should really take time to think about. And that is limited knowledge. When we think about all the advancements and enhancements and discoveries that we've made as humans, it's easy for us to think, you know what, we know how everything works.
Actually, I don't think I know any scientists or academics or just regular adults for that matter who think like this. That would be silly, that would be narrow-minded. No one thinks they know everything except maybe like a 13-year-old chav who's like, alright mate, I know everything, yeah? And, you know, they bully smaller kids. That was a terrible accent. I will never do that again, I'm sorry. Point is, no one actually thinks like this, do they?
But yet, the reality is, largely we don't know how a lot of things work. We don't really understand the universe, not in its fullest extent. We don't have answers for lots of things. We just have lots and lots of theories.
Well, yeah. He's right about that.
Now, think about this, right? Once upon a time, way back when, the smartest minds of this earth, right, they still believed it was flat. Yeah? Now, we're not poking fun at that. I think we completely understand that, and what they did was, for the most part, they came to a very solid and reasonable conclusion with the limited information they had. And it really is that word, limited, that brings us into perspective. We make conclusions, reasonable, sound conclusions every single day. But sometimes, without us even knowing it, we're only using limited information to come to that opinion. Whatever you believe, all I'm saying is science is a journey, right? And in 100 years' time, 200 years' time, we're going to know a lot more about science, and we're probably going to understand some mistakes that we're making now that we don't know right now, because we will advance. Our information will go from limited to more complete, and that will force us to reevaluate our stance, our opinion, our position on things.
Yeah, he's right about that too. You know, brilliant. I think this guy's got it actually. Science is always changing, and we're always discovering new things. That is a thing, that is a fact, yeah. He admits that thousands of years ago we didn't know as much as we do today, and that today we don't know as much as we probably will in 1,000 years. All good, all good. So obviously, I guess the conclusion that I draw from this is that once people used gods to explain things they didn't understand, right? Today we have explanations for those things, like thunder. We know what thunder is. We know it's not God stamping his feet in anger. We know it's an actual thing, and we know why it happens. And while today people might say that XYZ is proof of God, in 1,000 years from now, we'll probably have explanations for those things as well. For example, where the universe came from. We'll be able to scientifically explain those things in the future at some point, maybe. So we won't need God. Brilliant! I think this guy finally gets it, actually. He's making a lot of sense here. Brilliant.
When we look out into the great expanse of space, when we realize just how small we are on this tiny little planet that we can barely even leave, is it not so hard to admit that actually somewhere out there probably is something that's bigger and better than us in some way? There probably is something out there that is higher and stronger than us. And if we can come to that conclusion, is it really such a jump to think that maybe, just maybe, a God does exist? And just maybe he is responsible and he did make all of us.
Ah, screw it. He doesn't get it. Never mind. Ah well. Ultimately, I think it's commendable that he titled this Reasons Why God Probably Exists. He's not one of these people who's like, God definitely exists, and if you don't believe in him, you're wrong and you're terrible and blah blah blah. He's not one of those people, and I appreciate that. He's saying this is why God probably exists. However, I would argue that all his reasons are more likely to be reasons why God probably doesn't exist. But, you know, that's just my interpretation. That's his interpretation. I want to know what you think. What do you think of his arguments, of my arguments? Do you think I got some things wrong? Do you think he got some things wrong? I know I didn't really go into a lot of detail about some of these topics, especially the ones I've spoken about before, but I think this is quite a nice starting point for a discussion, so let me know what you think of all this down in the comments. Also, nice little reminder, if I hit 50,000 subscribers ever, it could happen one day, maybe. No, seriously, it will only happen with your help. But if I do reach 50,000 subscribers, then I get to get a puppy and we get to go to a shelter and rescue a gorgeous little doggle who needs a mummy. And I will be that mummy. Me. So unless you're a terrible person, you'll subscribe and help me get a puppy, yeah? Yeah. I'm being silly, I'm rambling a lot. But for now, thank you so much for watching. If you have made it through this part, I really do appreciate it. And I'll see you again soon.